So welcome to the 10 Star House. We've got another episode of Coffee at the 10 Star House, and today I've invited in Rebecca Short, who we've actually connected with at Carbon Neutral Adelaide. SUHO is a founding partner, but I wanted to get Rebecca in so that we could have a chat about the program and how 10 Star House is also trying to mimic the objectives of that particular program in South Australia. So welcome, Rebecca.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Can you describe the partnership programs that you have and how people can be involved?
Absolutely. So the City of Adelaide Council and the South Australian Government have partnered together to form Carbon Neutral Adelaide. And that is essentially a shared ambition that the CBD and North Adelaide will reduce its emissions and effectively not create an impact on the climate. It's part of that, there's a partnership program, and the partnership is open to businesses and organisations who share the same goal. And currently there's 180 active partners, and they're from a really wide variety of backgrounds. They're in housing design like yourselves, right through to venues, schools, and people doing energy systems, and a whole range of really active partners.
And what are the benefits of becoming a partner? What do you see it in terms of combining voices, I guess? So one of the things that we did on this house was bring in partners, because if we just pushed the notion of the 10 Star House, we wouldn't nearly have gotten so far. It's about education and working together. How does that relate to what you guys are doing with Carbon Neutral Adelaide?
Well, in a team, one of the things we like to say is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So when you're
I like that.
when you're going for something as ambitious as a low carbon future, everybody has to play their part. And what we're trying to do is show that you're going to need collaborations between people that maybe wouldn't work together normally. So throughout the year, we try to create opportunities for people to connect. We've done a range of forums where we pick some of the leading edge activity that's going towards low carbon solutions, and we look to lift the level of capacity amongst Adelaide. And then we also run awards where we profile and celebrate who's really out there. And last year we were really happy to award SUHO in the innovation category.
Yes, yeah, it was quite an exciting time for us. We try to be very humble and in the background for so many years, but it's nice to actually have that involvement and recognition for the partnership and the influence that we're trying to create, all the partners are doing together. So that was a very exciting time. So can you give me a bit of an overview of the Carbon Neutral Adelaide program, who's involved, what sort of sectors it is crossing over with, and where people can find information about who is involved as well?
Absolutely. So Carbon Neutral Adelaide has an action plan for the government and the City Council combined. It's about 100 actions that we're taking. And then when it comes to partnership, you can jump onto carbonneutraladelaide.com.au. There's a range of resources there for people starting their journey. And there's a partner directory where you can find people based on perhaps the interest areas you're looking into. So that might include a restaurant or a venue if you want to hold a sustainable event, through to people that will install solar panels, and a whole lot in between.
Yes.
There's also the City of Adelaide itself also has a range of rebates for quite innovative sustainable technologies that you might be interested in looking at if you're in your early stages of your journey.
That was actually something that I showed in one of the webinars, was those rebates, because it's a nice simple way of showing people the direction that they can take, and in different scales. So yes, do visit that, please. What sectors do you see pushing these trends more? Is it more in terms of larger companies, or are smaller companies doing it as well? Are they in electricity and technology, or are they in education and so forth?
Yeah, well, when you invited me here, I had a bit of a think about some of the areas we think we're seeing real movement. In Adelaide, we have fewer large companies headquartered here, so we're finding that SME space. We see a lot in the move to push the grid from a coal-fired grid to a renewable grid, and we've made huge strides in South Australia. We're already at over 53%. But a lot of the partners are pushing that even further by doing innovative things like solar power that you can share in apartment blocks. That's a very new area. There's also, to go along with that, you need a very smart grid. So you need some of those demand response technologies or energy efficiency technologies. And we have a range of experts who are working with their clients to use less energy. There's also a new innovation area in electrifying transport. So as our grid goes even greener, you want to be driving a car that's powered by the sun. So one of our partners is Hyundai. We also who have a couple of electric vehicle models.
Yes.
There's an electric motorbike group, Fonzarelli, who are quite new. And you know, they're all looking to become more mainstream solutions. There's also an area of real action in events and venues and hospitality. So there's a couple of cafes, very conscious of their carbon footprints with food. The Adelaide Convention Centre is a partner, so they've done huge strides in becoming a green tourism venue. And then I think the fourth area is that area of civil society and people who advocate for change. So there's there's education groups and people looking to sort of influence, like the Green Building Council of Australia, looking to influence mainstream practice. One of our partners, Climate Clever, does carbon footprint accounting in schools as a way to lift education and awareness.
Fantastic. And in terms of someone wanting to join the partnership, because it's not set, people can still join, companies can still join, what sort of support or information can you give them if they are interested in participating in this?
Well, they can jump on the website, carbonneutraladelaide.com.au, and have a bit of a look. We've got a prospectus there that explains what we're looking for or what you might be looking for. And they can contact the team and have a chat about their goals. But we're really happy to work with a lot of people that are on the edge of their own sector. So it's really good to see when they're not only potentially looking at their own footprint or their own actions through their own operations, they're trying to influence their peers and perhaps their clients as well.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's something that's very important in what we're trying to do, not only with this house and why we wanted to be a carbon neutral Adelaide partner, is that we're trying to get that information out there and educate and facilitate and handhold others through that process. So I think networking through this is actually a really good thing for Adelaide. Very exciting time, I think, for the industry, for the built environment, if we can get more people signing up to Carbon Neutral Adelaide and having a little bit more visibility of their actions and why they're trying to do it as well. So your website is actually very good for talking about the partners and the process that they are going through and the benefits that they're seeing. So it's a really great resource. So again, visit that. It was interesting that you mentioned about the workshops and education sort of side of things. So what do you think the role of some of these companies are in terms of infiltrating the community, whether it's at school level or tertiary level, and trying to push Carbon Neutral Adelaide that little bit further?
Well, schools are one way that we can share knowledge, which is fantastic. So one of our partners does work pretty much in schools with the education on what it means to emit carbon emissions and how to reduce that. Something else we find is as people go on, if they're looking to carbon neutrality themselves, they find, one of the words we use now is co-benefits, which is just a jargon way of saying you get more out of it than just saving carbon, which is a great, it's very great positioning for your brand, it's very good for your staff, it makes people really committed to what you're doing. But we work with a range of kind of carbon accounting experts, and they say that when people start to really look at what they're doing in their operations, you get a business management benefit out of it as well, because accounting, you can't manage what you can't measure, and when you start measuring carbon, you actually start measuring expenditure, and if you start saving carbon, you start saving expenditure. So recently the Adelaide Festival went through the process, and they've been very generous in sharing how they've done it, and speaking to their peers and speaking to other people about what they're doing, and that's something we find that this very passionate group of advocates who are quite happy to talk to others about their journey.
Yeah, which is really good because it gives a bit of sort of like a ricochet effect, and you know, one person learns this way, and then the next person can learn from their mistakes or you know their triumphs and apply that to their own situation. So
I've actually got a great story for you on that.
Oh,
in the City of
fantastic.
Adelaide, which is one of our City of Adelaide residents, took a real leap with a beautiful architect design home, and they had some rebates from us, from the City Council, where they got a large battery bank and solar panels and a very low energy house, and we helped them run a sustainable house day where people would come and have a look. And then later that year we had 3 neighbours in the same street all put on solar and batteries.
Oh, good.
Part of a strata, they were part of a strata group, and an old converted warehouse behind them as well worked on a solar system, which is quite innovative in sharing solar between tenants. So we've got this very small lane in the CBD that suddenly has a much greener footprint within about a year and a half. So I see that as a real power of change and community and communications.
Yes. I know with this house and the house next door, if they went on separate titles, we could have had that opportunity in terms of working out how the 2 houses could perform together, especially because one is a slightly lower star rating than a 10-star. And I guess that's where we want to go with this house also, is provide a framework to get to high performing housing at a lower cost, better finishes, better indoor air quality, and all of those little attributes that go along with housing in the built environment. You know, doing these little examples like what you've, you know, the little anecdote that you've told, is good because it makes people think that it can actually happen. So
Absolutely.
The more that this communication happens and we can advertise that more and more, it's a really good resource and gives confidence, I think. And I personally feel like that's where we are now in Adelaide. We're starting to see that confidence happening. People are jumping on this technology, becoming involved in Carbon Neutral Adelaide. I was very impressed with how many partners are now with Carbon Neutral Adelaide as well. So it's very exciting times, I think.
Yeah, we're very happy to be part of a positive evolution for the city. It's a great city to begin with. It's a very livable city.
It is, very much.
We have a city brand that's called Design for Life that is meant to express the value of Adelaide as a place to visit and a place to live. And we think that sustainability and carbon neutrality is just absolutely part of Design for Life.
It is.
The house we're sitting in is a livable house. It's a comfortable, it's attractive house. And Adelaide itself is an attractive city. It's surrounded by beautiful parklands and it's got this lovely heritage buildings. And to be able to kind of have that pride to say, and we also really care about the fact that how a mid-sized city can go low carbon, and that can be a worthwhile future and a livable, comfortable, happy future.
Yes, and it adds value to society, community, or the different scales between, you know, value on a home, value for a community, value for education. So it's wonderful. Absolutely. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
And we'll probably see you at the next Carbon Neutral Awards when they
I
happen
hope so.
as well. Thank you.
Thanks.